Hi guys, welcome back to our next mini vid on civilization development. On the screen in front of you, you'll notice that we have the title obviously, and then three objectives that we would like to have accomplished by the time this mini vid is over. At the end of this, you should be able to do three things. You should be able to identify the three stages of civilization development where people meet their basic needs in different ways. Number two, you should be able to explain the factors that cause a group to shift from one stage to the next. And number three, you should discuss the characteristics of each stage of development. And I'm going to give you an opportunity at the end of this mini vid to do that for class tomorrow. But the bigger question to all of this that you'll see under the objectives are the two pictures. And it's how do we get from this caveman to this city on the right hand side? What are the things that have to happen to take us from being a nomadic wandering group like you see on the left of your screen to being the civilized organized city that you see on the right of your screen? And hopefully by the time this mini vid is over, we can understand some of the basic common elements to that process. Now, before we get into the different stages of civilization development, we need to understand how we fit into all of this. How do we fit into the bigger idea of, as a U.S. citizen, we're trying to understand in Social Studies 7 here how the United States does what it does. Why do we do what we do? And so we have to go back a little bit to the development of North America as a continent. See, the United States, if you want to start here in the upper right hand corner, is what we're starting at. This is the place that we are. Why does we do what we do here as the United States, and how did that place develop? And so the reason that this is bigger and how we fit into all this is the United States is part of a bigger place called North America. I think everybody knows that, which is part of an even bigger place called the Western Hemisphere, which is part of an even bigger place called the world. And so everybody in the world is trying to get along and meet their basic needs. And at the same time, here we are over here in Erie County, and we are part of this bigger thing called New York State, which is part of a bigger thing called the United States. And so we're kind of like secluded in this small little corner of the world referred to as Neustadt or Akron, but we're part of this much bigger world. And trying to understand how North America and the United States developed, first and foremost, is the most important part to understanding, why we do what we do in little old Erie County. And so to get into this again, civilization development is all about this idea that the number one priority of any person throughout any culture, throughout any part of the world, is survival. And so if you're filling in your template that you should have at home from class today, survival is the thing that any person is looking to accomplish. They're trying to meet their basic needs of food, water, and protection. And to do this, they're going to do it in a variety of ways. They're going to do it in three different stages of development. Now, it's our job as citizens of the United States to understand the development and the stages that go through so that we don't forget or lose sight of the things that provide our basic needs. And so as we take a look at the indigenous people, the first people in a place from North America that met their basic needs, it's our goal to understand the process so that we understand what it takes to be a civilization, and to repeat those actions so that we can stay a civilization. Now, the cartoon that's on here, I love it. It says, "I'm tired of hunting and gathering too, but nobody's invented grocery stores yet." And if you can get the humor in that, it's kind of funny because you have two cavemen that are here, and hunting and gathering is the way that they met their basic needs. And that's extreme. I mean, it takes a little bit of work to hunt and gather food. And you probably don't get a whole lot of it yet, compared to the idea that grocery stores haven't been invented yet. That's where we would go to get our food in 2014 or whatever year it happens to be. And so when you have this idea that cavemen are looking for grocery stores, that's what makes it funny, is that there are no grocery stores during the time when cavemen were roaming the earth, and that's a sign of progress. That's a sign of things to come that humans will have to develop. And so here are the three stages, and if you want, please fill your template in as we go. The three stages of development are these. The first stage is what we refer to as nomadic. It is that caveman period. If you take a look at the picture over to the right, you have people wandering, the earth looking for stuff. There's not a lot of cities. There's no roads. Nomadic people tend to meet their basic needs by moving from place to place. They're typically hunters and gatherers of food, so they'll eat their berries, they'll hunt their woolly mammoth, and they tend to travel in what we call small groups of anywhere from 2 to 8 people. There might be a mom, a dad, maybe a grandparent or a child, or 2 siblings running together, not typically more than 2 to 8 people. And the reason for this is it's hard to travel in larger groups. The more people you have, the more stuff you have to carry, the more stomachs you have to feed, and it becomes more and more difficult every time you add people into the mix. And so the groups of nomadic tribes used to be, or tended to be, very, very small. Now, about 5,000 years ago, this thing called farming happens to change people within North America and throughout the world from being nomadic into stage number 2, which we call domestic. Now, the reason that farming is such an important change agent is that it provides a stable food source that will allow you to stay in one place. When you can farm, the food grows in the same spot. It comes up pretty much at the same time every year. And so nomadic people now had a place where they knew they could go to get food. It made life a little easier. It made life a little bit more manageable to meet their basic needs. Now, in order to farm, you need sun, soil, and water. And if one of those things were missing, the people either had to adapt, which is one of our key ideas for this module, or they would have to keep on keeping on. They'd have to remain nomadic. And so farming is going to be that thing that changes us from being a nomadic group into a domestic group. Now, if you take a look at the second picture across from domestic, you'll see that there's more than 2 to 8 people there. And so the grouping starts to change a little bit. To be domestic, that means you stay in one place to meet your basic needs. Domesticated animals are animals that you keep inside your house or in one spot. And so what happens here is farming villages begin to develop, and people start to raise animals on purpose. They start to raise crops on purpose, and they eat these crops and animals, or they use them to produce more crops or animals, or they can trade them with other farming villages. Now, because there is such a stable supply of food, the population is going to go up. So instead of 2 to 8 people, now we're going to have anywhere from 2 to 8 families. And so the farming, and maybe even more. And so the farming villages and being domestic is going to enhance life and make it somewhat easier. Now, the next change agent is going to be what we refer to as surplus farming. This provides an abundant, stable food source. There's extra food, which is the definition of surplus, that allows members of the group time to focus their energy on something else other than just meeting their basic needs every day. And so the goal here is to do something else, to develop their energies into something else that could improve their life. And when they do that, when they improve their life and they have time to do other things, this is where we move into stage 3, which we refer to as civilization. Civilization, just like domestic, means stay in one place or meet basic needs by adapting to the environment. Surplus of food allows for time to, quote, what I say, do other things. Now, those other things are meant to improve the quality of life. And so what you have here is city development. More stable food, extra food, have more babies. Population goes up and you have cities. When you do this, you're going to need record keeping, some way to keep track of who all these people are or how much food we need to feed all of them. And so there's going to be different forms of record keeping. People are going to invent systems of hieroglyphics, or maybe they keep oral traditions, but they will have some form of record keeping. In addition to that, you'll see advanced technology is next. The picture over to the right shows buildings, road systems, For earlier civilizations like the Aztec, Inca, and Maya, we're talking about temples and rope bridges across valleys. Things like this are signs that you have a civilized group of people. The fourth thing here is you have specialized workers. Not everyone is going to be a farmer. You're going to have doctors, you're going to have lawyers, you're going to have mathematicians, you're going to have engineers. And so you have what we call specialized workers. And then lastly, number 5, you have what's called complex institutions. People with all this time on their hands are going to develop religion like Christianity, or they're going to develop government and laws that will make life easier for people. If you can create laws that help people know how to interact with each other, and religion kind of does the same thing, your society can get along a little bit easier than maybe, say, being nomadic and fighting for food. And so these are the 3 stages of civilization: nomadic, domestic, civilized. Your change agents is farming and surplus of farming. And so hopefully you can see that as time goes along, there's 3 different stages that you could possibly be in. What it'll be for us is to figure out what stage are we in, and to recognize some of these characteristics in different groups that help develop North America. Now I'm going to leave you with a quote, as always, which says, the chief obstacle of the human race is the human race. What I would like you to do is to take a couple minutes, review your notes, and then try to address that quote on a half sheet of paper, about a paragraph, anywhere from 4 to 5 sentences long, and bring that to class tomorrow. We're going to start with that quote tomorrow. The chief obstacle of the human race is the human race. Guys, it's been 12 minutes. I know you're probably sick of listening to me, so thank you for tuning into the mini vid. Hopefully you got your notes filled out for tomorrow. Can't wait to see you. Have a good day, guys. Bye-bye.